Hey, what's up, jungle friends? So, as per request, we're going to do a quick recap of everything patch 1.1.09 did. So, the major changes are honestly more weapons are viable. I think that's kind of the bottom line for the changes. They did add ray tracing for next gen console and PC, but the ray tracing quality is almost unnoticeable, if not completely unnoticeable. So, I would say the ray tracing aspect was bad overall. They increase the range and grab and the power of Inescapable Frenzy and Lifesteal Fist, so those grabs are a little bit better, although in gameplay does not really translate very much, so it doesn't feel very different basically. They decreased the power of Power Stance Jump Attack. There was a translation error in the patch notes. So Power Stance Jump Attack got attack damage got decreased. So that's really good, honestly. Very, very good change. They also decreased the power. They said they decreased the power, but they reduced the stun for the R2 for Kestis and all fists and claw weapon types. So this is a nerf to basically mostly the Kestis R2, really. You can't Vortex anymore. They decrease the power of Founding Rain of Stars spells. So this is basically like when spells pour down from above. I think this is an error. I think they probably were supposed to nerf Star Shower and they just did the wrong one. Decrease the spell effect of Terra Magica. So Terra Magica, I believe, got decreased by something like 20%. Could be wrong on that, but I think it's 20%. They decreased the damage and poise damage of Wave of Gold. So Wave of Gold got the similar treatment to Moonveil. When they nerf Moonveil, it doesn't poise break as much anymore on the wave, and the damage is separated between the blade and the wave. Okay, they decreased also the power of Determination and RKR, Royal Knight Resolve. So really good fix for RKR nerf. Really appreciate it. They also decreased the effect of Contagious Fury. So the Jellyfish Shield, this is mostly a nerf that affects Twinking because that shield was mostly problematic at lower level, I would say. They decreased the effectiveness of all jumping related gear. So Claw Talisman and Raptor's Black Feather Armor. Claw Talisman went from 15% damage increase in PvP to 10% in PvP. So what I'm mentioning here, those are PvP exclusive changes. They also decrease the effectiveness of Lords of Blood, Exaltation Talisman, and White Mask. So when you proc blood on something, you won't get as much of a damage boost anymore, which is really good. And they also decrease the effectiveness of all elemental-based physic tier damage boosts. So your magic shrouding, crack tier, flame crowding, whatever, all of that got a damage decrease. So I would say this is good because in PvP those buffs were absolutely devastating. So I think this is a very good change overall. Now, as far as general balance adjustment goes, they added an invincibility window when respawning in the Coliseum. This is some feedback that we gave ourselves directly. Very happy about this. This is a good addition. They also increased the scaling when using certain certain infusion, magic, fire, flame art, lightning, sacred. Although they say that when I was looking at the numbers, I did not really see much of a change. So I think it's the Ash of Wars themselves that might do more damage on those, but it's not the weapon damage itself. Increase the attribute scaling of the following weapon type: Colossal Sword, Great Axe, Hammer, Flail, Great Hammer, Colossal Weapons. So basically they added scaling to all these weapons, but the scaling is like 1% or 1.5%. So basically your Colossal or your Giant Crusher that did 890 AR now does 895 AR. So this is a bit of a weird one. I'm not sure if this is intentional, but basically the change is almost irrelevant. 15 AR on a weapon that does like 900 AR is basically nothing. So in real gaming, in a practical sense, you're basically going to have an attack that's going to do like, I don't know, like 315 instead of doing like 312. So this probably translates into like something like 7 or even 3 damage in some instances for different weapons. So A bit of a weird one here. Not sure if this is completely intentional, because this is such a small boost in scaling that it's a bit irrelevant. They also increase the speed, range, and recovery of some attacks. So the great hammers, great axe, great swords, curved great swords, these are probably the biggest winner for this whole patch. So I would say the weapon that got buffed the most, in my opinion, throughout the whole patch is Curved Greatsword. So if you want to know more about Curved Greatsword, you can watch the complete breakdown that I did and the full in-depth analysis. Great hammers are also probably the second biggest winner from this patch. They are much stronger now. The whole moveset is just faster. Same with Great Axe and Great Swords. Great Swords, I would say, are probably the third biggest beneficiary from this patch. Really good moveset. The R2 on the Swipe Great Sword, so Knight Great Sword, for instance, got a huge buff from this patch. The running attack on Great Sword, more forward momentum, more speed. This is something we asked directly. Really happy to see that change. And Great Axe got a speed increase as well, but maybe not. I don't think Great Axe are as strong as Great Hammers, Great Swords, and Curved Great Sword as of right now, but they're still really good. And as you guys probably know, the anchors are still very strong. So really good changes overall for these weapon classes. Extremely happy with this. You know, the bottom line for these patches is we wanted more weapons to be buffed than weapons to be nerfed, and this is exactly what we're getting, to be honest. So Flail also got some increase across the board, you know, increased the attack speed, recovery time is lessened, and they also increased poise damage when using it two-handed. I don't know the exact poise numbers, I haven't done the testing yet, but Flail are basically magnitudes better than they were. Are they meta now? No, but they went from basically being some of the worst weapons to now they are, you know, they are all right. You know, more on the viable side than bad side from the little play testing I did with them. But, you know, still a good change. They also buffed some other smaller weapon classes to a lesser extent than, you know, the Curved Greatsword, etc. So they increase the running attack speed and reduce recovery time for straight sword, curved sword, katanas, twin blade, axe, hammers, halberd. I would say the one that's felt the most in these classes is curved swords. Curved swords got, I would say, a decent boost. I would say they're probably the kind of like the shadow buffed most, like the weapon that's gonna like sneak up under the radar the most throughout this patch is probably the curved sword buff, I would say. Straight sword also, you can feel it two-handed that it got boosted. Katana, I didn't feel it that much, but yeah, some running attacks on katanas got a speed increase. Twin blade, it's mostly the running R2 from what I've noticed. Axis, honestly, I'm not really too sure. When we tested it, nothing really felt that different, but I'm sure they boosted probably like running R2 or something. Same for hammers, it was not as felt as much, probably the running R2. And also halberd, it's the running R2 that got sped up. Like the rest seem pretty much the same, other than they also nerf the hitbox on a lot of pokey weapons, which we're gonna get into in a second. So they also increase the first attack speed of straight sword, curved sword, and whip. Again, you feel that the most on curved sword, especially not Shamshears. So like every curved sword, that like scimitar, for instance, scimitar, you feel it a lot. Feels a lot like Killage from Demon Souls, for instance. And they also increased the speed of the guard counter attack for straight sword, great sword, colossal, curved great sword, katana, twin blade, axe, great axe, flail, great hammer, spear, great spear, halberd. Now you're gonna ask, is it relevant? No, not really. You know, yes, the guard counter is a bit faster. You might situationally use it, but it's not a big deal. Reduce the attack recovery of whip. Increase the damage of claw weapons. I have not tested to see the damage difference, see if it's like a bit similar to what they did to Colossals, give it like a scaling of like, you know, 1% or whatever. So I don't know how relevant it is. Added holy damage and fate scaling to the Great Club. That's a good, I would say that's even more in a sense of a fix, because the Great Club had an Ash of War that had 0 scaling. So it was basically a strength weapon with a Fate Ash of War that had 0 scaling. So more of a bug fix in my opinion. They also increased the damage negation when blocking holy damage, and they decreased the damage negation when blocking other types of elemental. They increased the effectiveness of Twin Blade Talisman. Don't know the exact numbers for that. Slightly reduced the travel distance for light rolling. So I don't know to which extent they nerfed it. When we looked at the light roll animation, it really did not seem very different, which is probably why they say they slightly reduced the travel distance. I did notice though that Bloodhound Step used on light equip load seemed to be the exact same as before, so you know it's a good change, but I'm not too sure if that's enough. I think the Dodge Ash of War are still untouched in this patch, and those are probably like the biggest problem at the moment. They also decreased the hitbox size for all thrusting weapons, so thrusting sword, heavy thrusting sword, spears, great spears, halberd. Now I don't know to which extent they reduce it. I think it's going to be better to look at this with Hitbox Viewer on PC. But for like heavy thrusting sword, I was feeling it more, especially playing against them. The other weapons, I would need to play against them more to give you a more appropriate assessment. And as far as the Ash of War changes, they increase the grab of Lifesteal Fist. Surge of Fate increase the projectile generation speed, which is, by the way, this is pretty much useless. The change is not felt. Flame Spit, so the shield that shoots a fireball from the mouth of the shield, that the projectile is more direct instead of, you know, doing some sort of like an angle upward, so more of a direct shot, easier to aim. They also increase the amount that you can block while cranking the big fireball from the Great Shield. Same for Tongues of Fire. They increase the guarding capabilities when you're doing the Ash of War. So before that, you could pretty much just do a jump attack against it and guard break it automatically. I have not tested to which extent they boosted the guard there, but we'll see. Great Auricular Bubble, they greatly increase the speed at which you can generate the Ash of War. Viper Bite, which is the poison small shield, it got less recovery after you do the attack. A bit, you know, it's a good change, but the attack itself is still too slow to be usable. Shrike of Milos does more poison damage at close range. Spear Call Ritual, this is probably the worst change from this patch. They increased the projectile generation speed, so basically it's like Rain of Arrows, but much faster. So this thing got a massive buff, and I'm going to be curious to see how cancer this is in Invasion, because I believe this has been overtuned with this patch. There was nothing wrong with it before, and now it's a bit on the overpowered side from a first look. I'm going to have to see in Invasion how that plays out. Cursed Blood Slash, which is the Morgott Curved Greatsword, it got an increase in the speed at which the blood comes out of the Ash of War. And overall, the weapon, the Morgott Curved Greatsword, got a massive buff because all Curved Greatsword got a full moveset pretty much buff. And on top of that, this weapon got an Ash of War buff. So it's now like a much stronger weapon. I would be curious to see like even how it can compete with meta now. That's how good it seemed to be. So we're going to have to see for this one. Really happy about, you know, bringing more weapons to the meta pool, or at least in the discussion. So happy about that. Goldbreaker, they reduced the recovery time. So this is the Marika Hammer Ash of War. They did not decrease the recovery time between, you know, L2 spam into another L2. They instead reduced the recovery at which you can roll after the L2. So that's fine. Because before that, it pretty much resulted in you getting guaranteed backstab if the opponent dodged it. So they also increase the speed a little bit of Commander D, or I Command D Neil, the Godric Great Axe. Was not really felt. I did not notice much of a difference. The Radon Ultras Ash of War also got a speed increase on the follow-up. So after you do the big blast, the follow-up attack got a speed increase. Spinning Wheel. This one is a bit of a funny one. It got you can now cancel the Ash of War into a heavy attack, so pretty interesting. And they increased the attack speed of the Ash of War as well. So an interesting one. I'm going to be curious to see if the weapon is, you know, any really different when you play with it against other players, because it was pretty useless before. So I'm going to be curious to see how much it actually changes when it comes to gameplay. And then we get to the bug fixes. So fix some bugs where Scarlet Rot was not applying properly on certain infusion for Anspur, Rotten Great Axe. as well as a few other instances. They also fixed a bug where Partisan and Death Ritual Spear and Lucerne had unexpected physical attack scaling. So, yep, that's one. Fixed a bug where Knight Rider Glaive did not increase damage on horseback. Fixed a bug where Duelist Great Axe and Rotten Great Axe did not increase damage on charge attacks. Fixed a bug with the Roar Medallion Talisman that didn't affect the power of some incantations. So the Roar Medallion now has a 5% damage increase in PvP on a lot of dragon spells. I heard even Dragon Breath is affected by this. I don't know how much that changes in actual gameplay. 5% is not that much, but you know, with buff stacking in this game, you know, everything can make a difference. So we'll have to see. Okay, fix a bug that reduced the power of some skills under the Golden Vow effect. I'm not sure what exactly this was. Fix the bug that caused the effect of determination on the offhand to apply on the main hand. There's different variation of these fixes throughout the patch notes. Fix the bugs that where status buildup were unintentionally added to some weapon skills. So the IGN glitch is now fixed. That's really good. Really happy to see this. Fix a bug that caused you to lose souls in the Coliseum. You know, it's not really big deal. Fix the camera positioning when respawning in the Coliseum. Never really noticed anything like this. Fix a bug that the player could receive credit for a kill if someone died by Dead Blight in the arena. They apparently improved stability in Coliseum matchmaking. I'm going to be curious to see how that plays out. So they changed some things related to the matchmaking, hopefully for the better. I'm really excited for this. And they also fixed the unskill bug from the Phantom Bloody Finger when you respawn during an invasion. So that's a very good fix as well. They also fixed offhand swap glitch. So offense weapon art swap glitches are now fixed for the most part. There's still some variation of chainsaws out there that are still possible, unfortunately. But some of the more easier ones to pull off are fixed. So that's good. Increase, you know, multiplayer stability, fix a PlayStation 4 related crash, and you know, various related bugs throughout the game and improvement fixes. So for the most part, this is what we're looking at for the patch. So really good patch overall. Really happy with a lot of the buffs that we had on some of the great class of weapons. Great hammers, you know, great axe, great swords, curved great swords. Really happy about those. I think this is a fine addition, and I'm really happy overall about patch 1.09. I'm going to continue to talk about patch 1.09 changes as I play more around with all these weapons, give you guys an update on the good, the bad, and the ugly soon. And until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this quicker breakdown. All right, take care, everyone.